Politics Midweek Update. I'm Scott Faughn, the host of This Week in Missouri Politics, and I am joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Dina Ladd, DSL Consulting. Thank you so much for the time. Let's talk a little politics.
Thank you for having me, Scott.
So last night, terrific reception for the MoCan Trade Association.
Yes.
It is amazing to me to see how fast the state has just accepted this. Now, listen, I'm the first one to tell you, I don't mind what people smoked or did, but it really wasn't my thing. And I was like, oh, do you need that? And then I tell you, it has become an absolute home run for the state of Missouri.
Absolutely.
How much money have they given to veterans so far?
50 million.
My God.
50 million.
I mean, that's not some theoretical stuff. That's actual money that goes. I don't know what the veterans do with it, but I say if the veterans folks over there and Harry Roberts and all those guys, I don't think they're wasting that money. And honestly, it's always funny to me. You see these conservatives, we're going to get the government out of your lives. And then, except they want to tell you how to live half the time. I thought it was a very conservative Republican thing to say, you know what, do what you want. And then the added benefit of, I think folks will pay a little more for something that's new and that, maybe wasn't raised to do. But I think so far, I mean, what a success story the marijuana program's been.
It's really been like the biggest emerging industry in our state. And I got involved because I ran the Stem Cell Coalition for over a decade. I care about research. I care about patients. I jumped in 6 years ago as a founding member of MoCan, and I wanted to see what this could do for patients and research. And so it has taken off. And it's interesting because a lot of the Republicans see it as, these are all small businesses. These are people in our state that have created jobs and created. I went down to Humansville. There's a cultivation facility down there. I mean, I was like, where's Humansville? And
good folks, good Missouri.
Oh my gosh, 250 jobs they've created.
Well, now you always got to tell folks, how do you get there from St. Louis?
I went from Springfield over to here.
Gotcha. I understand.
But the state's also getting 120 million from the program. So there's jobs, and the veterans are getting 50 million, and it is the most regulated industry in the state.
So you got something exciting going on. I love new stuff. The Law Enforcement Legislative Coalition, right? Some folks you're working with. Tell folks what that is to start with.
So it's a new organization. It's made up of police chiefs all over the state and business leaders. And the reason that they formed the coalition is they wanted to be involved more on legislative issues, have a voice, educate people, and really promote public safety. So we have our Valentine's Law that we are working on this session, and that is named after Tony Valentine, who lost his life pursuing a vehicle. And this law would be a felony. If the police are pursuing you and you cause an accident and a death, then it is a felony. So it's moving along, and hopefully we'll get that passed.
That is, I didn't know you couldn't run from I thought if you ran from the cops, they'd chase you. Is that department by department? Is that statewide? What is it?
Statewide, actually, in Missouri, they are limited on how they can chase fleeing vehicles. And what the chiefs have told me when they pull people over, they'll say, you can't do that. You're not supposed to be chasing me. And there's nothing you can do to me, by the way. So you can imagine how frustrating that is for police chiefs, policemen. So they felt like it was time to really put something in place to punish people that are fleeing the police, causing accidents, even deaths.
Yeah. Let's talk about another thing you're working on. It is the success of the medical marijuana program has been widely noted, but as part of the situation, you have some folks that do. Have you ever been to like a festival or something? You'll see these folks selling pot out of the corner, like homegrown something or other. It's become about as squirrely of a thing. And so here's my thing. I understand the state needs to regulate marijuana. I honestly believe folks in this state are willing to, maybe even the folks who don't support it are like, well, it ain't my business what you do, but don't push it in my face.
Right.
Well, you go to a festival or something, you go to, it's not the Dogwood Days. What's the one down, the Azalea Festival down in Fredericktown. And you got some Cheech and Chong looking pothead people out selling dope. And to come to find out, that's the state doesn't do jack to regulate any of that. It's becoming a dangerous situation.
Very dangerous.
John Combat's buddy of mine, we were talking about this. He went to some deal. I think it was in Warrenton. And I mean, he said it was just the dirtiest hippies you ever seen. Is everything nobody wanted Marijuana from medical to today has tried to get away from. Everything I bet the old sheriff that lives down the street here probably hates.
Mm-hmm.
And the state doesn't do jack. And he brought up the point, said you have no idea what's in this stuff. You're gonna have somebody get fentanyl one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you this: I don't know if the state will withstand the scrutiny from their medical marijuana oversight program when that ultimately happens. Because I bet you what they've done is, well, it's nothing.
It is nothing. And so we have the Delta 8 bill. Again, the law enforcement group, they jumped right on it to support it because, here's the police having to deal with fentanyl, opioid overdoses, and now they have this Delta 8 product that any kid can walk into a gas station or a convenience store. It is packaged. It looks just like a bag of Skittles.
I saw one. My son, Gussie, loves any snack. I mean, he's probably gonna be up at the Senate this afternoon. And everybody just gives him like snacks, and he squirrels them out and hides them somewhere. But he loves these Sour Patch Kids. And I saw a thing at the legislature, and I couldn't have told you the difference. If you just set both the actual Sour Patch Kids, little kind of sour little gummy thing, and the package of the Delta 8 stuff, I couldn't have told the difference.
So what we're trying to do is there's 17 states that have banned that from their state, but we're not even asking to ban it. We're asking that it be regulated because the people of Missouri voted on Article 14 cannabis, and under that it says you have to regulate cannabis. Everything that's sold in a dispensary here is grown in the state, manufactured in the state.
Why don't they regulate it?
Well, that's what we're trying to do.
But why doesn't the state say, look, I mean, if I just went and grew some pot out back and took it down to this convenience store here and said, here, sell this pot and you can mark it up 200%. I think you can't do that. But somehow these people essentially do that just with a slicker package.
They do. And also the products.
Why doesn't the state just say, knock it off?
Well, if we can get this bill passed, then they'll have to say that.
But don't they already have the legal authority to say you can't do that? Why don't they send somebody from the state and say, knock it off, can't do that anymore?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You know who they should get to do this job? The Jefferson City meter maids. They would be so good at that. They're annoying the hell out of people. No one is better. They are world class. Really, you ought to put that in the bill to make this under the purview of the Jeff City meter maids. No one scurries this earth more to bug people than them. They'd be all over this. But seriously, it kind of is bizarre.
It is bizarre.
What the marijuana department spends their time on. Like, you let these dirty hippies sell this disgusting fentanyl stuff to people, but then you spend all your day worried about, well, we can't have a blue package, we got to have a green package. It's almost like if you wanted to see why you're a Republican, go look at that marijuana regulatory board over there. And that's kind of why you become a Republican, because the government just doesn't make any damn sense.
Well, like I said, if we get Delta 8 passed, hopefully they will have to regulate the products.
With the current setup there, they don't enforce the law now. So you pass a second law. I mean, how do you make the government do their job?
Well, again, if we pass Delta 8, it will be regulated under the Department of Cannabis Regulation. Because
couldn't you pick any other department right now and probably find a more successful department?
I'm not going to answer that.
I mean, I just say it just seems like you have a department that I mean, if we were grading departments, right? Probably, I mean, Christian, obviously, ag would be an A. But after that, I don't know that I put marijuana on par with Christian somewhere.
Well, the issue is that department has been set up, and their role is to regulate cannabis in the state. So this product.
Well, you really miss Lindell, but yeah.
Yeah, Lindell was awesome. He's awesome.
Good old boy from Webster County. Well, I do think it to me, I am not a big regulation. Isn't normally my answer to most things, but I do think especially because this is relatively new, and I don't want Gussie going into the gas station having the option to buy Sour Patch Kids or Sour Patch Kids with fentanyl from some hippies. You know what I mean? And why don't we just have just Sour Patch Kids, and then knock the other shit off? And I just don't think that's too much to ask. The government does so much that nobody asks them to do. Just take the revenue department and send them over there. I mean, Nobody would not. Desi doesn't do a damn thing. You could take Desi, all their employees. We'll talk about this in a minute. How many weeks would it be that they need to not show up for anybody notice? They could be out doing this stuff. That'd be great. That'd be great use of their time. They could pick up trash on the side of the road and do this.
Well, we're passionate about getting this stuff out of the gas stations and
Seriously.
convenience stores
It's a legitimate issue.
and it's coming from China.
Yeah.
This stuff is coming from out of the country. It's bad, bad stuff. And the first time a kid overdoses on that,
What's Bailey say about this? I'm going to ask him. I mean, to me,
you know what? The
you ought to
attorney
be able to do that. Just common sense says you shouldn't do that now.
You know what? He's been great. I mean, he supports, of course, Valentine's Law.
Yeah.
And on this issue, we've talked to the Attorney General, and he's engaged on this issue. And so I think, working with him and educating people that it's out there. I mean, like my police chiefs, I had a bag of that stuff that we were using at the hearing, and I showed it to them, and they're like, "What in the world is that?" Like they didn't know that stuff's being sold in gas stations.
Well, it's so well copied. If you just said it there, I wouldn't think nothing about it. I would think, because I've recognized the packaging from what my son likes to snack on. He's like his daddy. He got his sweet tooth. I wouldn't know. I honestly think a kid could go in the store and buy that and have no idea.
So part of the bill is, like if you go into a dispensary, you have to be 21. Okay, so that would be part of regulating those products. Is you'd have to be 21 to purchase, but we'll see what happens. But it's something that needs to be done.
Yeah, I actually think
like the convenience stores are, they're a little worried about not being able to sell those products in their stores. But okay, people who sell cannabis, they have to do it under regulation. The products are highly tested, packaged a certain way.
Well, I actually went and bought one from the place here in town. And it was annoying how long it took to do it. It was very government. But I get it. It's new. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I look, I think a new thing like this is going to need some regulation.
Totally.
And maybe over time you relax some of that. But I just don't understand how you could have something where a 7-year-old kid could go in. Look, I'm busy. I'm on the phone. We go to Casey's General Store in Wardsville. I'm pick the kids up today, and we'll depending on how happy they are when I get in the truck and what all I have going on, they'll want to go to Casey's there in Wardsville, and I'll want to stop probably just to make them happy. And I'm probably going to be on the phone and busy, and I'll be on the phone trying to pay for the stuff, and I'm not going to pay attention. I saw the packaging was so slick. You could absolutely buy that, not know what you bought.
Well, and think about it, even adults, maybe they go in and think they're buying Skittles or whatever, and they get home and they eat a whole package of that stuff. I mean, it's bad. And the milligrams, like it's 400, I think, of THC. That's a lot. I mean, that's a lot. So, well,
and I bet you it's probably because it's some Chinese thing, highly volatile. You may get none and then 400 and anyhow, there's a way to do this, and I think you've laid out a very good plan for the state that I think people generally like.
Right.
So stick to the plan, right? I don't understand this. Let's sell some dirty hippie Chinese crap and then do it the right way. I just, to me, don't make it hard for people. Make life easy.
Well, I mean, the people of Missouri voted to pass adult use under, Article 14.
Under some strict regulations.
So that's all we're asking. If they're going to have this stuff in our state, it needs to be regulated. So we shall see what happens.
I'm not a big regulation guy, but I do think as new as this is, and with some of these things that are, I don't even think that it should be just you can't do that, right? I just don't understand how you have one class of folks highly regulated giving $50 million to veterans, then another class over here that's just, I guess, just Katie bar the door. I guess maybe I'm just a simple hillbilly and don't get it, but I don't understand how that
like you
comes
said,
together.
Okay, $50 million from the cannabis program to veterans. Okay, these products, they're not being taxed. They're not contributing, that type of thing. So it's just a lot that needs to be changed. In that.
It's a poor system when you're incentivized to do the wrong thing.
Right.
I mean, there's somebody needs to get a whiteboard out somewhere in government and say, okay, this doesn't make sense when we're actually making it easier for you to do something squirrely. So loved last night at the Courtyard. Is there a better place to have an event at the Courtyard?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. That place is great. Michelle, the sales manager.
Yep.
She's awesome. Like, they'll be sold out, and I'll shoot her an email like, "Hey," I mean,
Shout out to Michelle.
and she is, I mean, she told me this morning, I was introducing her to some people. She's like, it's all about hospitality for me, treating your guests
You
right.
can tell if you go to you had a packed event, everyone was there, but they had multiple people there working the food, working the bar. They just know how to do it. It's just a next level experience. If you want something that sucks, there's places to get that. If you want a next level experience, they just know what they're doing and they act happy that you're there.
It's like a jewel in Jefferson City.
It really is.
It's nice.
I really hope the city, when they do this convention center, incorporates Mark and his team, because it is just a different experience here in town. And it's great for the state. I mean, you got business people in your association come in. You want them to have that kind of experience here in Jefferson City. That, to me, it's as a person that lives here, that is so awesome to have. Like, I expect that stuff at the Chase. If I go to some of the Four Seasons, I expect that. It's wonderful to have some that, I don't care who you are, where you're coming from, how wealthy you are, what you're accustomed to. That is a very good experience. And I think that adds a lot to the front door of Jefferson City to have that kind of experience here.
Absolutely.
I got to show you this. Caleb gave me this. I got my own honorary lineman hat. The folks up at United Fiber have sponsored this, but the Co-op Association, Caleb gave me this honorary lineman hat. I tell you, Kelton and I we've kind of scratched our heads. We've got to find a way to prominently feature this. I just don't know exactly how yet, but we're going to figure it out.
Nice. Very nice.
The folks at United Fiber are good folks. And then look at this stein. This might be one of my favorite steins I've ever gotten. A friend of mine from Springfield gave me this. Look at this. It's on the soapbox. It's got the cigar, vote Democrat, the monocle. This is one of my absolute favorite steins I've ever received. I am very grateful for this. Thank you so much. This was such a thoughtful thing. It was given to me last night at the
very nice
event by a friend of mine, a legislator from Springfield, who I just adore.
My hometown.
This is great. Nice. Nice.
That's nice.
So what part of Springfield? Where around Springfield did you grow up?
I grew up closer to Stratford, Stratford area. Yeah, my mom still lives there. My sister.
That Blunt territory.
I know.
Stafford,
yeah. Yeah.
All right, let's talk. You gotta see this. When he was in final today, Mark Alford gave him these cigars. Alford is a cigar aficionado, and he's got his own branded cigar now. How cool is that?
Oh my gosh!
I know. Alford's just a good dude. Alford's just one of those. He's just a guy's guy. You know what I mean? You can sit there and say you're full of shit, and he'll be like, "Well, maybe," or he'll say you're full of shit. He's just a guy's guy, And in politics, that's really missing. I hear some people prattle on about masculinity. If you have to tell someone you're masculine, but Mark Alford, you got to tell nobody that. Mark Alford is just a guy. You know what I mean? He's got common sense. Obviously his background is in TV, so he's a good communicator. But he just when he talks, he just comes off like a common sense old boy. Speaking of common sense old boys, gotta give a shout out to my buddy Aaron Baker, lost his mama this week. Thinking about Aaron, he's a hell of a guy. There is no one in Missouri politics that if they say they're going to get X done, gets it done faster than Aaron. He's just a great guy, and you could tell like there's two types of people with Aaron: people that Aaron's beat at stuff and don't like him, and people that Aaron has won stuff for and love him. And that to me is the ultimate compliment. Aaron has been a friend of mine for a long time, and losing his mama, I can't imagine, kind of sudden. But what I don't know. You've been on my heart all week, buddy. We're thinking about you, and I'm not the only one. Then we lost Jennifer Durham this week. Long-time lobbyist. Goes back to John Britton days. Her funeral service is going to be Friday here in town. She was a jewel. Nothing got by Jennifer. She knew what the politician was going to say before he even said it. She could see him coming. She had seen it all and worked for one of the best in John Britton. Let's go to our messages here. We'll see what the DM said. What's going to happen with Speaker Plocker? Well, as I understand it, so this is the funniest thing. In the Senate, I think Senator Bratton's staffer, who just is generally just unpleasant to be around for the most part. I think some of the other staff felt the same way, and we're like, and so the administration committee comes together and like, okay, man, can't you do something with this? Can you just send him somewhere else or whatever? He threw a fit and said, no, it's my guy. So as a Gold staffer, I respect a guy that says, no, I'm backing my guy. That was awesome. I thought Rick Bratton did a heck of a job. But in the House, I guess you don't get to hire and fire your own. I think the clerk must be in charge of that. So if it was in the House, I guess they'd have fired the guy. But they have this whole big ruckus. I'm sure you've seen it. The Independent, I think, every day likes to write something that hates Dean Blocker.
He's an old friend of mine, Dean.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens is the same people that fund these IPs from out of state fund the Independent. So I that might have something to do with why they just also, you're dogging a Republican. I get it. He's going to actually testify. It's been the damnedest thing. This for this $4,000 that he's already said, hey, my bad, and accounted for and repaid. You could have conceived, carried, and birthed a wombat faster than you could have investigated this. You could play an entire Major League Baseball regular season before Dean. And so finally, Dean Plunkett to talk for the first time ever tonight. They've been hiding the ball. They wouldn't let him talk. He said, how many times do you see a guy actually want to come and say, hey, I just want to tell you what's up? They're like, no. I really think Judge Evans enjoys telling you what a great person he is. And I think the other, well, I'm not sure about Hannah, but the other 8 are like, okay, we've listened to this for 6 months. Can we just move forward?
There's a few other things that need to be done over the gap.
I guess not. But it is a bizarre thing that I think is a very good lesson in people hiring staff and staffers who you choose to work for. I think there's lessons to be learned from all of it, but it's almost become like a sheltered workshop version of an ethics committee. It's well past become a joke. But tonight, I guess Dean will actually get to see these people for the first time after 6 months of, I assume, exhaustive investigation at a glacial pace. So that's where that is. Look, I think some people think it's in their interest to drag this out 10 forevers, or they're just super incompetent there. I think they have a staff lawyer that's super excited about his moment in the sun, and he wants his moment to last, well, apparently half a year to this point. So if I had to guess, that's really what's going on there. We'll see what ultimately happens. What's going to happen in the Senate on schools? I sort of have this feeling that somewhere in my bones, it's Corn Man Day. And I have a column. You'll see when you say Corn Man, Dean, let me help you out here. This is the face of bureaucracy there. That is the superintendent at one of the poorest rated schools in the state. I was the biggest defender of public education in the state. I used to be the loudest defender. When the charter people would get pissed, they'd hit me. They wouldn't hit some of the other geniuses there at the school stuff. And I heard these people talk about these superintendents that would just dump on you and treat you like scum. They just truly believed you were in the way of them raising your kid. And I was like, that doesn't happen. That's just cities. No way. Wrong. I was wrong. When a hillbilly's wrong, he looks you in the eye and says, I was dead wrong. 100% wrong. I'm writing a column about it to explain it before session starts today. You couldn't be more wrong than I was wrong. I had my corn man moment. Totally just I think their version of the world would be inner cities, like fatherless people. It was an amazing thing to see. Everything I'd heard was totally going on. And I was a total fool. And it wasn't even that. To me, it was so funny. I would talk to people about this because I videotaped it all. I'd put in the video and they'd be like, oh my God, that's all. And then people say, well, I've heard he's terrible. I've heard he's awful. So he gets fired in DeSoto. They paid him $115,000 of your tax dollars with the promise to never come back. That was the promise. We will pay you this money as long as you sign this legal document. You'll never apply to work here again. And then, of course, it's just a club where when you're in the club, they slap you on the back and you fell forward into something else. So they stuck him here, and where I ran into him. And where is he now? Poplar Bluff. I've had to eat every word I've ever said about schools, and it's bitter, and it doesn't taste good. But I put a little A1 on it and then joke it down, a little Bud Light. But no, the reaction to the story I told. Every single person in education goes, that's awful. You can't do that. I'm like, well, you can. And then they would all tell me, it's terrible, but obviously I can't say anything. And I'm like, what do you do again? Well, we make a little money off this grift and we make a little money off this, or I can't say anything, or that's not my job. Desi went to great lengths, all of them, to explain to me they do nothing. There is nothing they do at all whatsoever. But if I see Lincoln, please tell him we need more money. The damnedest thing. I just think that probably the move is, speaking of my buddy Baker, he was right. I was wrong. You just have to start over. I mean, a system that I really think it's like this. I met when I was doing some school stuff. I met so many great folks. So many great folks. The vast, vast, vast majority of great people. Went to
Teachers.
Wellington, Napoleon, even superintendents. I met a lot. Kennett, the superintendent of Kennett, my God, you should be so lucky to send your kid to an organization ran by that guy. You know what I mean? Just great folks. But I found because there is no accountability and the whole system from the associations to the board to DESE is all made to cover the ass of the worst 10%. That's the whole point. It is just right here to cover up for the worst 10%. None of them, because they got a little money on it. They represent somebody here. Oh, that'll make us look bad. We have to. It's like, you ever been to South Park? So in South Park, Officer Bar Brady, he would say, "Move along, looky-loos. Nothing to see here." DESE's entire job is move along. Nothing to see here. No, there's something to see here. And I promised him he would be the most famous superintendent in the state. And I intend to keep my word. It was bizarre how the whole crew, I really think this, to have a top 10%, you have to have a bottom 10%, right? Just the way it is. The bottom 10% of superintendents are so emboldened because they have if you do a terrible job so bad, they will take 100,000 tax dollars and pay you to go away. Then they'll fall forward and give you a better job, right? A system that broken and flawed, what do you expect to get?
I do know a little. I had an education client last year.
Yeah, who was it?
It was Quality Schools Coalition out of Kansas
What do they
City,
do?
and they promote charter schools.
Yeah, I used to
and
dog them, but I mean, nothing they do could be as bad as look at this guy. An organization ran by that guy right there.
I learned a lot about the system and DESE and just with them and so forth, and I understood, why now they want to fight to let parents have better choices for their kids.
No doubt. Well, they want to give you not even a choice. They really don't want you bothering them at all with any decision for that. They'll just take your kids and raise them. You just go away. That's kind of the thing. I had my cornman moment. So many other people have too. And I think, Bill Eigel talks about a reckoning. I just think they treated so many people like scum, and the Department of Elementary and Secondary covering the ass of the worst superintendents. I just think, like, what do they do? What I show you rampant corruption, you do nothing. So I think Margie Van Dieven's a nice person and probably good and intelligent, but what do you do again? I don't even know. I really could. If you offered me $1,000 to tell you what they did, I couldn't tell you. And that's kind of a dangerous thing for probably the person who interviews more people in politics than anybody. A huge department, 2,000 people. I couldn't tell you what any of them do, except they do cover the ass of cornmen, and which makes more superintendents go from probably good, wanting to improve, to cornmen, and they multiply. And I hate it for them. And I know, look, schools, you're going to have to tear it down to rebuild it. And I personally think DESE would have been gone in 3-4 years, except Carla Esslinger, whatever she does, when she walks in a room, you just know somebody's got it together there, right? Whatever she does, you watch. She'll do something with that's good. She's not going to sit over and spin her wheels and do nothing. I don't know how far down you have to fire to really turn the page, but anything, I've never seen Carla Esslinger do anything that wasn't top notch. And I tend to doubt this will not be. Whatever she does here, I'll bet you will be very top notch as well. It's going to be interesting to watch the debate today in the Senate. It's kind of interesting how it comes down. Those deals, you've got Andrew Koenig has a bill. Curtis Trent has a bill. I think at first people were like, well, we're not doing a Koenig bill. Not after you've tried to filibuster Hageman and, the whole, whatever you want to call it, the Freedom Caucus stuff. Well, I think they've kind of resigned the fact that they'll let Koenig have the bill. It's going to come down to how much money do you give public schools to free up this, right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. What does you had a client? What does a good education system look like to you?
A good education system. Well, my kids did go to public school.
So did I. And so, had a great public school.
And I think just having a really engaged, identifying what your child needs. One of my kids had learning disabilities and needed a little bit, he had an IEP and so forth. I think if they're engaged, the teachers, the school, knowing what kids need and kind of addressing those needs. I understand some of the public school systems are huge. Maybe that's not possible.
Yeah, no, I really think they should. they used to do consolidation, those rural folks, whenever they got, got enough stroke overs. I think some of those schools should be deconsolidated. I'm not sure bigger is better in schools.
Yeah.
I don't know class size. Now, I'm not an expert. I don't know. But I went to Neelyville, a nice 2A school, loved it. My kids go to a terrific public school, terrific 2A public school. I hear a lot of complaints. Most of the complaints I hear are out of 4A schools. Columbia obviously is. I don't know anybody happy with Columbia Public Schools, but those are bigger ones.
Yeah.
I hear more complaints out of the bigger ones. Maybe it's just
possibly. I mean, I live in St. Louis. My kids were born and raised in St. Louis, and so they went to more of a medium-sized school district, I would say, not like a huge Marquette or a real small Brentwood and that type of thing. But it was a good experience for them.
I had a great experience.
Yeah, so prepared them to go on, and both of the boys got to college. Yay, got out of college. So it was good.
I don't envy Carla Esslinger's job of pulling this thing out of the ashes that it is now. If anybody, I honestly think if they wouldn't have hired her, they'd have just brought in another nameless, faceless school bureaucrat. I think Desi would just went away. And maybe that's what someone wanted to do. I think Carla Esslinger, this is their last chance, I think, to actually exist in any meaningful way. I just think they may have hired her too late. I'm not sure that they didn't let people like this fester in the system until it was so damn corroded that she can't fix it. If anybody can, she can. I just wonder if anybody can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So that's today.
Well, in the Senate, you never know. But here's the thing about
we're supposed to have Delta 8 on the floor in the Senate possibly today.
I'd hate to be wanting my bill on the floor with this leading over it. But here's the thing. They do these differently. Ron Richard had a theory that I heard. Now, Ron, was a gambler. He'd play all different hands at once. But Monday filibusters, I always thought was the best because, they went for a few hours last night. Kind of, you got to see who was going to filibuster. Senator Carter is a major player in this if she wants to be. She's got ideas that have really changed the landscape. Her involvement in education has changed the thing more than anybody else. And I'm not smart enough to know even really what all she's advocating for. I just don't know that policy that well. And education policy is very technical.
Yeah.
And so generally she wants to just end DESE and let charter schools are accredited by, I guess, different groups. She wants to let public schools be accredited by whoever they want. And if they want DESE, they can. It's probably more complicated than that, right? I can't imagine it's complicated. Yeah, I can't imagine it's that simple, but generally that's what I've heard her say. So I guess to me the filibuster thing, filibustering on a Wednesday, I always thought was kind of silly, right? Because 10 Democrats can go all night. That's not a big deal. One night,
right? And
they're not going to stay Thursday of spring break. There is.
Oh yeah.
I've watched this so many years. There is no way Senate leadership is holding them late on a Thursday of spring break. It's not going to happen. I don't believe you. It won't happen. So I think if they don't go to the bill tonight, you're just essentially let's flat Doug here. 3D Doug, your twin brother, will be on the floor. 3D Doug can go all night. We know that. Then the thing that pisses me off about Beck. You see Doug Beck at 9 o'clock at night or 2 a.m. His hair is perfect. His suit is perfect. Yeah. He is. It is bizarre how well put together that man is. And then you see him at 8 a.m. in the morning. It's the same way. I'm like, you should be haggard a little bit. Your tie should be crooked. Something.
You're right. He is
always the same. He looks like that all the time. That is a picture of Doug. But it's like his hair's perfectly combed. If I was a Republican, I'd be like, now, damn it, you should be a little tired. This is ridiculous. So I've just never thought a Wednesday filibuster usually doesn't have a lot of hope of breaking it. But a Wednesday before spring break, I know Caleb hates that public school in Columbia. I just don't think Caleb can keep those folks here on a Thursday of an election year of spring break. So if they don't go to that bill tonight, that to me is like a tactical question. If you just come in Thursday or Wednesday and go to that bill, if I'm the Democrats, I'm like, well, this is too easy to not just, walk out of here. We both know by 2 o'clock you won't have a quorum. So let's just, we can see the end in sight. If you go to the bill today, maybe go to the Delta 8 bill at 1 or whatever. But by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, you go to the bill. I'm a Democrat, I'm like, oh man, I've got tonight, all day tomorrow, all tomorrow night before I get to that Thursday.
Spring break.
Yeah, I think if I'm 3D Doug instead of if I'm Flat Doug or 3D Doug, and I get to that bill at 5:00 tonight, I'm like, well, we got a chore here, fellas. Right. But if I get to that bill tomorrow at 5, I'm like, psh, got this. Spring break time. I'm good.
Right.
He does his big fundraiser. I think it's corned beef and cabbage, Flat Doug. I think it is. Big corned beef and cabbage fundraiser in St. Louis. He's a hell of an old boy who's actually worked a job for a living.
Yes.
I mean, he's actually knows what it's like to work a job, unlike our man here. My God. Anyhow, thank you so much for the visit.
Gosh,
I'm excited about your
you.
law enforcement coalition. It's going to be awesome. I just think one way or another, that stuff shouldn't be in gas stations.
It's bad stuff, and we need to regulate it. And we shall see what happens. But it is a public safety issue, and some kid is going to get really hurt.
Will you do me a favor? How long are you in town for?
I'll be here all day tomorrow.
When you go home, because I'm actually going to spring training Sunday.
Oh, nice.
I'm stoked about it. I know every year I dog the Cardinals and I'm ticked, especially last year. But by now I'm ready to, I'm excited and ready to go. So we're going to have spring training on Sunday. Let me know a place that sells this. I'd like to go see it for myself.
Okay.
I have seen. Now here's the thing. I've seen the packages at the legislature and I've read about it a little bit. I've never seen one in a gas station I've been in, or they look so much like the other I don't notice.
You know what's interesting? So like Quick Trip, they don't carry this stuff.
Sure.
Right.
I bet Casey's
quality.
doesn't.
It's not worth why would they take the risk of the liability and so forth? But if you go into, I'm telling you, if you drive from here to Columbia, I'm sure you can find plenty of the stuff, but I will find out for you.
Somebody watching, I'd like to just see if somebody's selling this. I just like to see how it's presented. I would never, I mean, a business owner, I get it, is what it is. You're working within what the government let you do. But if you see one, text me where some of this stuff is. I'd like to just go see the presentation how it's out, because I may have seen it. I go to a lot. I'm a gas station food connoisseur. I eat more gas stations. If you're going home tomorrow, the gas station in Jonesburg's got that Champ's chicken.
Oh, yeah.
It is the best gas station chicken anywhere on I-70. Outstanding. There's a good gas station over by the Soybean Association on Country Club that Gary Wheeler told me about it. It is good. But I do think the Jonesburg Champ's chicken is better. It's kind of it's hidden off because there's that old car wash that's out of business there on the south side of 70. So you got to go down about a block. So it's not real business on the road, but it's worth your time. But if somebody sees where this is sold, let me know, because I'm with you. They're going to sell this at Lowe's. They're going to sell this at Love's. They're going to sell this at QT. Right. But I bet you there are places that do, and I'd like to see how it's displayed.
And they're saying, well, this is part of our revenue, and I know convenience store owners. I work with them on other issues and so forth, and they don't carry this. And that's not, a big part. They can't imagine that would be a big part of their revenue. Alcohol, cigarettes, chicken strips. That's part of their revenue. But these products, like I said, and not all convenience stores carry it, but it needs to be regulated.
I'd like to see one if you don't mind. Just text me what it looks like and where. I'd be grateful. Kelton, I got two things to ask of you. Number one, what's the chances that you could help come up with how we're going to display my honorary lineman helmet?
I'll put it at the top of the list today.
Well, there's one thing I was going to have you put at the top of the list. I'd like for you to come up with a way that we can learn how to bet on baseball, and we can make our illegal gambling racket extend into baseball.
I have great news for you. People have been betting on baseball for a while now.
Yeah, but I don't understand how. Do you?
A little bit. I can
so
learn it.
By next week, Kelton, could you put on a clinic on how to bet on baseball?
Oh, absolutely, I can.
Yeah, Kelton runs an illegal gambling operation out of here. But I don't know how to. I bet on football's easy, right? Baseball, I see the lines. I don't know what they mean though.
It's very confusing.
So next week, Kelton, at the end of the show, you're going to put on a clinic on how to bet on baseball, right? And we'll start doing that.
Yes.
See, we would bet on Mizzou games every time you'd pick Mizzou. It'd be like I would get up Mizzou giving 10 points to Georgia. At Georgia, he'd be like Mizzou. He would every time he take Mizzou. I'm that way about the Cardinals, so I'm going to be terrible at betting on the Cardinals. But let's figure out how. Okay.
You think they're going to be good this year?
God, I'm so snake bit. I don't know. I hope so,
Mhm.
but yeah, I'm very snake bit about it. I don't know. If the Lord loves me, they will. I don't know. It really hurts my soul to see us in last place and nobody's
Yep.
acting like there's a problem here.
Right.
We sign an old folks home full of people that I just wonder if it's. Then they start getting hurt, of course, because I played pickleball with my daughter and I could barely walk from my right thigh from Sunday. I know what it's like to be old, but it's really weighing on me. I'm gonna go get a first-hand look this weekend and I'll
Nice.
report back.
Nice.
But for Flat Dog, for Cornman, for myself, for Dina Ladd, for Kelton and his illegal gambling operation, thank you very much. We will see you